Hi guys, so there's an old expression, the blind leading the blind. Well, I'd like to change it to the idiot leading the idiot. Something wonderful about talk radio is that they invite on people, when it comes to Brexit, that agree with the commentator. Isn't that weird? It's almost as if they don't want people to challenge Brexit. It's like having a priest and a cardinal on to talk about how great the Catholic Church is. Anyway, Lord Moylan, a Brexiteer, spoke to Julia Hartley-Brewer about how the EU is punishing Britain. These people really need to let this thing go.
And again, lots of people on the Remain side have argued again and again, oh, we can't renegotiate something that we signed it in good faith. If Boris Johnson's unhappy with it now, well, tough. You shouldn't have signed up to it. But it's absolutely crucial, isn't it, as part of this Northern Ireland Protocol, that it's about, there's a lot in there in terms of the interpretation, and also about both.
What do you mean? Once again, I have a problem with these people who have zero understanding of the Northern Ireland Protocol and then make statements like, there's a lot of it to be interpreted. There's a lot of interpretation there. For example,
size, not showing, I can't remember the exact wording, but sort of showing goodwill and working towards to make this as a smoother transition and to ease trade. And there's no doubt at all, given that 20% of all EU customs checks are taking place on that route between Great Britain and Northern Ireland, which is 0.4% of all of their trade. It's quite clear, without any...
Because certain goods, how can I put this? You can't export, for example, certain goods into the single market. Okay? So there's no need to carry out checks if certain goods can't be exported into the single market. For example, from other third countries. But certain goods are coming from a third country potentially into the single market through Northern Ireland. So checks have to be carried out there. Why is this so difficult to understand?
Doubt at all that they are clearly trying to disrupt that trade.
Well, I think the first thing to say is, yes, you can renegotiate it if it's not working.
Yeah.
If it's not working. Okay, show us how it's not working. Because the EU have said it's working. Lord Frost said it's not working. And I wish I could actually speak to Lord Frost, but I can't. I wish I could speak to Liz Truss, but I can't. But I would ask them, explain how it's not working. Can you give us some examples of how it's not working?
Even though it might only have been in place for a short time, if it's already clear it's not working, then of course you're entitled to renegotiate it, and sensible adults would do that.
Yeah.
Yes, you can renegotiate if you can demonstrate that there's a problem here. But you haven't demonstrated that there's a problem. You have said that there's a problem, but you haven't demonstrated that there's a problem. You have to show evidence that there's a problem. And then we can look at it and see if we can fix that problem. If we can't fix that problem, and that problem is extremely serious, then the two sides can decide, okay, the best way forward is to renegotiate. But we're nowhere near that yet. You haven't... All you've done on the UK side, on this Brexiteer side, is said that there's a problem. You haven't actually explained the problem.
The second thing to say is that this isn't fundamentally about trade. It's fundamentally, in my view, about democracy.
In your view? I don't give a crap about your view. It's about trade. It's about goods moving from Great Britain into Northern Ireland that could potentially move on to the Republic of Ireland inside the single market. That's what it's about. Not about democracy. You people, when it came to protecting the United Kingdom, both of these two people here preferred to have their Brexit. They chose Brexit over the Union. You can't complain about the Union now. You can't complain about Northern Ireland being detached from the rest of the UK now because you wanted your Brexit. We said it would be a problem, and you people said, stop complaining, stop scaremongering.
And about the integrity of the United Kingdom. And even if we did take some small hit to trade as a result of punitive measures that the European Union keeps threatening against us, and they
respond to threats. They're not threatening you. They're responding to your threats. You're saying, we're going to trigger Article 16. You said it on I don't know how many occasions. I've lost count. And they said, if you do this, there will be consequences. How is that a threat? How is it saying, I'm going to do X, and the person says, well, I'm going to respond with Y? How is that? How is it that they're making the threat? What planet is this guy on?
I'm doing it again this morning. For invoking Article 16. Even if they did, I think we would have to live with that. And as with the other, hits to trade that Brexit promised, yes, of course there is some disruption of trade.
Some disruption to trade. At the beginning of last year, I made some videos, and I showed in those videos how businesses were showing how they had to produce about 200 documents. Recently, there was a video of a guy who's importing seeds into the UK, and he had 600 varieties to cover, and each of those varieties, or some of those varieties, had to have 3 documents with them. And to this guy, that's not a real big problem. The importer also described how a consignment had to be sent back because it was on the wrong pallet. How is that a minor inconvenience?
In the short term, as people change their trading patterns. But they've turned out to be very much smaller than people expected, and I think that would continue to be the case.
That's lying. Why are you lying? And of course, why is Julia Hartley-Brewer not calling him out on those lies? Of course she's not calling him out on those lies because she agrees with him. She agrees with the lies.
The key question is, are you going to have part of the United Kingdom with no consultation, against its will, with no representation in any parliament?
Why do we have to go down this road of lies again? Northern Ireland has representation in the UK Parliament, in Westminster. There are MPs in Westminster. Jeffrey Donaldson is one. Sammy Wilson is another. There are members of the SDLP in the House of Commons. The UUP. Sinn Féin don't take their seats. That's a different story. There is a parliament, an assembly in Belfast. And in 2024, they will have a vote on the protocol. What is this guy talking about? There's no representation. Is there no representation? Perhaps he means there's no representation in the European Parliament. But that's what you voted for. You voted to end representation in the European Parliament.
Being made subject to the laws of a foreign power with no say.
But that's what you wanted. The European Union didn't want this. The European Union said, look, if you want to stay within the single market and the customs union, you can have that. Of course, you're not going to have representation because you had your Brexit. And you said, no, we don't want that. So the compromise to maintain peace in Northern Ireland, which this guy probably doesn't give a crap about, Julia Hartley-Brewer probably doesn't even understand Northern Ireland and the peace process and what has come before that. They threw Northern Ireland under a bus, and now they're complaining that, well, the people in Northern Ireland don't have representation in where? Where do they not have representation? In the European Parliament? Yes, because you decided against that. The people in Northern Ireland voted to remain in the European Union. But you people didn't want them to have that.
And incapable of trading freely with the rest of the country. That isn't a sustainable position for any country. And we should be saying very clearly, I think we have said clearly, that that's the case, and we need to do something about it now. If we carry on footling about, then I'm afraid the Europeans will continue laughing at us.
Well,
I'm laughing at you. The Europeans are not laughing at you. I'm laughing at you because you're an idiot. Sorry to use such attacks, but has this guy made any sense so far?
And there's no doubt at all this is about punishing us. We've seen that the EU, some of the commissioners, and indeed President Macron of France have all but said it out loud, openly, that's we've seen those messages saying.
He didn't say that. But even if he did, at what stage did Macron represent the European Union? Please tell me, at what stage is he representing the European Union? This is what I always find funny about Brexiteers. They seem to mix up, and these people should know, one of them is allegedly a journalist and the other is a politician. They should know there's a difference between the President of France and the European Union.
There needs to be a punishment. People need to learn the lesson about leaving the EU. And of course, the argument has always been, if the EU is so fabulous and leaving is so terrible, why would they need to punish us? Punishment enough.
But they're not punishing. They actually said we would like Britain. This is, I keep interrupting these people, but I have to. On Monday, these people say they don't want us to leave. On Tuesday, they're saying they're punishing us for leaving. Which is it? I believe that the European Union would have preferred Britain to stay, but it said, look, you voted to leave. We're not going to stop you. These people, I imagine if you asked them, would they support Scottish independence? I don't think they would agree with Scotland having a vote, but we'll park that. But how is the European Union punishing Britain? I would love to know. They're treating Britain like a third country, something that Britain decided to become. How dare you punish us for treating us in a way that we want it to be?
Would come simply from the act of Brexit. Do you think, if you had to put money on it, you followed this all very, very closely.
No, he doesn't. Because he's an idiot. I'm sorry. He's an idiot. He doesn't understand Brexit. He has demonstrated he doesn't understand Brexit. He has demonstrated he doesn't understand the Union. He has demonstrated he doesn't understand Northern Ireland. He doesn't understand democracy either.
Do you think that the EU will back down when confronted, as would appear to have been the case under Lord Frost's negotiations? Or do
the EU will back down when it's confronted? Confronted over what? Confronted in what way? I'm grasping at straws here to understand what she's talking about. Is she talking about Article 16? Because does she honestly believe the EU... I'm laughing at this because it's so absurd, but does she honestly believe that the EU backed down because Lord Frost threatened to trigger Article 16 25,000 times?
Do you think this one is going to be running and running? I'm going to still be introducing this topic in 3 years' time.
They're not going to back down. I think there's no question at all. They really think that they've got us exactly where they want us.
What does that mean? They've got us exactly where they want us. These people said we need to leave the European Union in order to be free. Vote. Put your X on the box to leave, or vote yes to leave, or whatever, in order for us to be free. And once we're free, we can do whatever the hell we want. We'll be happy. Sunlit uplands. And what have these people been doing since 2016? Nothing but complaining. I actually thought it would end in 2020. Okay, the UK has left the European Union. It's no longer a member. It's no longer in 2021 a member of the single market, the customs union. The transition period is over. Now the Brexiteers will keep quiet and go away. Obviously, I was wrong. They're still complaining.
And I don't think that they're going to back down. I think they will, of course, do things like make it easier for medicines to flow from Great Britain to Northern Ireland, because it's a really bad look.
It's a complicated issue. But the European Union never said medicines cannot go there. They said if it's necessary, we'll allow exemptions. But they have to protect the single market. Okay? And they have recently, speaking with the UK government, said, okay, we'll make exemptions for certain types of medicine. Then they expanded it to allowing medicines to come into Northern Ireland, which could find their way into the European Union, into the single market, sorry. There are rules that have to be respected. the Northern Ireland Protocol was a compromise. Is it perfect? No, it's not. But if it's implemented correctly and the flexibilities are implemented along with it, then it will work.
If you're saying that the people of Northern Ireland are going to be starved of medicines because of some EU policy, I mean, that they're going to do something like that. They might even make some exceptions for the poor Jewish community, and very small Jewish community left in Northern Ireland that can't get kosher food. But these will all be within the context of the protocol. Yeah. They've shown no sign at all that they're going to back down on the essence of the protocol, which is foreign government, foreign courts, no say for Northern Ireland, and no free trade, or very limited trade, between Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Okay. And they're sticking to that, and they're playing us along. They're playing for time, and the longer it goes on, the happier they are.
What are they happy about? Wouldn't you think these people would be happy? They got their Brexit. They convinced the people, the public, to vote for something based on lies. And they're still angry. They're still playing the victim. This is never going to end, guys. The Brexiteers are going to be angry. She said in 3 years' time. Yes, the Brexiteers were going to be still angry in 3 years' time. 10 years' time. They're still going to be complaining about how the European Union is punishing us. Because they sold public something positive. Either they didn't know what they were selling, or they knew it was a lie. And instead of actually coming out and saying, I was wrong, or I lied to you, they have to blame someone else. And they'll continue to do that until the UK rejoins the single market and the customs union, or rejoins the European Union. And then after that, these people will complain after that as well. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.